Hello, and welcome to another Destiny deck analysis video. This one is going to be a lot different from the previous one because we're actually not analyzing a deck, we're analyzing decks. Not so much analyzing as we are just taking a brief glance at some decks that I think deserve a little bit more attention than they get for various reasons. Um, just, I think that most of these decks, if not all four of them, could potentially be a tier 1 deck if they are put together well, if the person who's playing them had played for a while, and if they, if they are finely tuned. If I had spent the last 2 months playing these decks, I think they could be tier 1 decks. I haven't spent the last 2 months playing them because most of my time has been spent on Rey. I have briefly made decks and played them casually, but at most tournaments I went back to Rey. So I can't speak from experience, but I just wanted to bring these to attention as decks that I think should get a little bit more looks than they do. The first one is Padawan HIred Gun. Rey Padawan HIred Gun. Um, the reason why I think this one gets missed a lot is because people want to run Rey double Padawan, and that you see that a lot, right? It's kind of like a decent mono blue hero deck. Has a lot of things going for it. But this I just think is a better iteration of that deck. It's very similar, only you add in a hired gun, replacing one of the Padawans, which means that you get access to yellow. And the pool, the card pool for blue heroes right now is just not good enough for a lot of their like removal wise. That adding that yellow really helps, and it also hired guns just it's 2 more health. It has bigger damage sides. Their range, which is unfortunate, and they cost money, but that's okay. And it has 2 money sides. And what I find is when you play this deck, early game, you get an instant expensive weapon on Padawan. You also have 2 resource sides on both Rey and the hired gun, so you're producing lots of resources. So you just ramp really quickly. I think it's really solid. It has let's see here, 26 health, which is pretty good. It has good damage. It has a lot of stuff going for it. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at some of these cards that you can run. These are just examples. Unpredictable, always nice, because if you're sitting there on modified dice but no black dice, you can toss it down and be like, well, I have a 1 in 3 chance of re-rolling into a black side, and if I hit that black side, I'm killing your character. It's a very strong play, so I would throw that in. Reversal, enough said. You produce enough money to be able to use it. One concern about throwing that in the deck is that it's spotted yellow. Lecture Shock, obviously, crazy removal. Flank, really reliable when you have 3 characters, especially since you don't really have to activate the hired gun very early on. It's a different damage type, so he just kind of sits there standing until the end of your turn. You kind of roll them out and deal a damage with them or take a resource. Sometimes you roll them early if you have like plus resource side showing and you want to take the chance of getting a black resource. But usually you're just rolling the Padawan first to get out the black side, and then you're action cheating Rey to get out these blues that you need the Padawan for, and then resolving instantly. It's a pretty nice play style. So flank is usually going to work. Dodge, because you have enough resources to afford the expensive removal. Deflect, because ranged. It's ranged meta. Force misdirection, because you have lots of blue dice. This is just like a messing around version of the deck. You can throw in Infamous if you want. Because having the ability to consistently action cheat on Rey, it's like a Han Rey, but without Han. It's still really good, though. Action cheat, anytime that you can get out damage without your opponent being able to remove it is good. Jetpack, because it's damage. And the 2 shield side is good, the special is good. Yeah, it's decent. Holdout, because you can action cheat with it. Data pad for the resources if you want it. Lightsaber, because it's a strong weapon, you can get it out early. It also has redeploy. And then these DL44s are pretty good. They have 2 3 sides and a +2. That's actually insane. What you can do is when they go Padawan first, you put out a lightsaber. When the Padawan dies, you redeploy the lightsaber to the hired gun, or maybe to the Rey, and then you override it with a DL44 heavy blaster for no resource cost. I've finished games playing this deck casually with 2 heavy blasters on the hired gun. It's it really turns him into a threat. And I mean, yeah, it's so good. Rey's staff is self-explanatory. One at the force because if one of your blue characters is getting focused, you want it. Jedi robes for getting more resources. So yeah, it's a pretty solid deck. You can put in a lot of big weapons in there and just try to this deck. You can play decent-ish removal. It doesn't do as much early game damage, but it will ramp quicker than most of the 3-character decks that you see that are in the meta. And it also has the action sheet like a Jango. So if you compare this to a Jango Bala Trooper deck, Hired Gun replaces Bala. It's not better than Bala. Obviously, Bala is better. Rey replaces the Jango, only this time you get more dice on your action sheeter. And then Padawan is like the equivalent of a trooper. 3 black sides but less damage, but you get a weapon quicker. So yeah, it's just like you get bigger weapons than the other 3-character decks. I think it has a lot of potential. Here's an iteration of like the Bala decks that I really, really like. That is, you switch out the Jango for a Captain Phasma. You can actually run 2 dice on Phasma because it's 15 for the elite, which aligns up perfectly. This will cost 30 if you're playing them. But you could also switch it around. So you could have 2 Bala-Tik dice and 1 Phasma dice. Depends on how you want to play. I like to put in 2 Phasma dice because she just has... It's essentially the same die, if you take a look at it, except for Bala has a focus. No, they both have focus. Bala has a shield, and Phasma has a discard. But then Phasma's 2 damage side is black, so it's just better. And she's also got 11 health, so she'll live longer if they try to focus her first. And what it also does is it creates an interesting, like, do they kill Phasma first? Do they kill the Bala-Tik? Because what you do in this deck is you just play all of your upgrades on Bala-Tik early, and your opponent can't kill the Bala-Tik. You have so much removal in this deck. So if you take a look, you have Electroshock, right? Self-explanatory. You have Flank. Flank is extremely good in a Guardian deck because you're always leaving the Stormtrooper standing. You're always like delaying until you see them roll damage. So Flank is like the first time they roll damage, you flank. The next time they roll damage, you take the damage on the Stormtrooper, right? It's really frustrating for an enemy to try to get damage onto the Bala-Tik when you're doing this. Dodge, self-explanatory. All in is actually decent when you have focus sides on both Bala-Tik and Phasma. Again, self-explanatory. If you can actually like play him once and then put the shields on the trooper, you're reliably able to make them deal damage to shields. He doesn't like you. Good. I mean, you can do things like first time they roll damage, you take it on the trooper. The next time they roll damage, you remove the trooper die. Although you don't usually want to remove the trooper die because it's so good. It's got all the black sides, but you never know. He doesn't like you. It's good removal. Fight dirty if you're running 2 dice on Bala-Tik. If you're not running 2 dice on Bala, you don't. And the best defense. This is the big thing that makes this removal like better than the Jango version, is that you can reliably run 2 best defenses because you have 18 red health instead of 7. Normally you don't run 2 the best defense in the Jango Bala Trooper deck because you actually want the Trooper to survive to late game so that all those redeploy weapons get moved onto this Trooper who has like 4 or 5 health remaining, and he can actually close the game. If you use 2 of the best defenses on a Trooper, he won't be able to close the game. He'll just die because your opponent will see that he's dealt 6 damage to himself and will finish him off. So you only ever see one of them, at least the ones I've seen. But with this, you can run 2. Tactical Mastery, self-explanatory. Backup muscles, Hunker Downs, really good to put on the Trooper and just consistently take the damage on your shields. Obviously, jetpacks for the damage, hold up blasters. Your standard gun suite. I do really like On the Hunt just for the consistent removal. Yeah, and what I find is that you reliably get 1 more best defense, and the Guardian just makes a huge difference in how good you are at keeping Bala-Tik alive. The one exception is if they have action cheating going on consistently. I think it's a more controlling version of the deck than the Jango Bala Trooper. This one doesn't cheat out damage as much, except for with the Tactical Masteries. But what it really does is it really says you will not kill Bala-Tik before I get his activation. I think it has potential to be played just as well as a Jango Bala Trooper. Here's another iteration that's similar to Jango Bala Trooper. I didn't think of this one. These combinations I thought of before I saw other people pick them. This combination I did not. so I'll just go ahead and say that. But it's you can run 2 die Viers, 1 die Nightsister, and 1 die Bala-Tik. It does that same thing that all Bala-Tik decks do, where people have to choose between, do I kill the Viers, do I kill the Bala-Tik? There are 2 threats. If I kill the Bala-Tik, then you have this better die on Viers, and 2 die on Viers, that are going to be dealing damage for longer. But if I kill the Viers, his stuff redeploys onto Bala-Tik, and then that's about when you're about to kill one of the characters, and Bala-Tik gets to roll 3 or 4 dice twice. It's very strong. Now, the one thing that this deck has over Jango Bala-Trooper is control. It's got all 3 colors, which means it can run all the removal from all the colors, potentially. So you have the electroshocks. You might not want to run 2. You have flanks because you have 3 characters. But here you can throw in blue defensive cards, and it's really reliable because no one's going to kill the Nightsister first. They just won't. Bala and Viers are way more of a threat, so it allows you to run cards like Deflect, which is so good in this meta. It allows you to run cards like Isolation, right? So Deflect and Isolation, right there, like those 4 cards alone make the deck have way better control than the Jango Bala-Trooper deck. You can run Intimidates if you want to get rid of shields. You can run Feel Your Angers, are really strong, like hit more than 1 die removal that Jango Bala-Trooper kind of lacks, unless they run like Podge and stuff. You can run 1 the best defense. Once again, you don't want to run 2 in a deck that only has 1 red character because it'll just kill them off. Unless you just wanted to make sure you reliably drew 1 early, but with Viers, you really don't want to deal damage to him. He's got so much damage going out. Self-explanatory, all the standard guns. You can put a holocron suite in here if you want, which is kind of fun. Maybe promotions, TH17s definitely, but yeah, being able to run a holocron suite, and this is also important. In my mind, you don't put Force Stroke into this deck. You put a Mobilize, and the reason why I like Mobilize is because it has shields, and people are action cheating a lot. So the shields are very valuable. And also, like, being able to blank a person's side, this is just more consistent at that. I don't know, I really like the shields. It's just a preference. And the one crazy thing that this deck does is it has better range damage side than the other decks like this. Viers is just insane. Running 2 dice that have 3 damage sides, 2 of which are 2 damage, is crazy. And if your opponent ever passes or claims before you, you deal so much damage if you have dice on the board. Because you can not only discard cards from your hand, you can ping Nightsister a few times. So maybe you have 2 cards and like bad dice showing out, right? Your opponent's like, okay, he only gets 2 rerolls, and if I don't claim here, he's going to claim and play an upgrade or something. So he decides to claim. Well, now you're like, okay, discard, reroll. You maybe get 1 damage side. Discard, reroll. You get, 2 more. But you still have 2 dice that aren't on damage sides. You can ping Nightsister, reroll 1, and you're like, oh, look, a damage, And like you can use Nightsister to reliably reroll these last couple die that refuse to roll range. And if you get them, it's like way better than the other decks at getting that, oh, you claimed? Well, I'm going to reroll into 8, 10, 11, 12 damage. So especially against inexperienced characters or players, that's going to really catch them off guard. And then Kylo Jango, you actually do see a decent bit. I still put it in here because I put this together a while back before people started playing it just recently. And I actually play it differently than then. I put in different cards. My Kylo Jango is kind of just like a Vader Raider, only you have a better Tusken and a much worse Vader. It's all about controlling their dice and keeping Jango alive for as long as possible. So that's where Stark Frozen Waste comes in. You either get 2 shields at the start, or you're consistently claiming because you have Jango and 1 other character, so you're going to claim quickly. You can every turn remove 1 of their die for free. And then you guys know how good villain blue and yellow is at control. So you run, electroshocks. You run deflects. You run he doesn't like you. You run, okay, I'll get to that later. Isolations. Feel Your Angers. And then, the standard holocron suite, which holocron on Jango is so scary. If your opponent has to activate into a mind probe every turn or a force throw every turn, it's like if you get Holocron early in this deck, it is just impossible to play against. It's not as good if you don't get Holocron, which is a weakness, which is actually why I threw in it finds all things. I'll talk about my strategy in a bit. Yeah, basically my strategy when I put together this deck was like, I want to get upgrades out quickly. I want to be able to get them on Jango, and then I want, by the time Jango dies, I want Kylo to be stacked because Kylo's dice are just not good. So I need him to have upgrades, which will make him good. So keep Jango alive for as long as possible, but once Jango dies, Kylo's stacked. How do you do that? Well, obvious answer, Holocron. Secondary answer is, I believe I have Sabers here, so I can just play Sabers directly on Jango. I don't need to fake those. I have On the Hunt, which is a third of the time you're rolling a pay 1 to remove an opponent's die. Very good. And then I put in It Binds All Things. And this is really saying that if I don't draw Holocrons in my first turn, hopefully I draw at least one It Binds All Things. And that's my game plan. That's how I'm going to get cards out so that I get Kylo stacked while still being able to pay for all my removal. If you think about it, if I activate if I play an It Binds All Things on turn 1, and I activate it every turn when I play upgrades, because every turn I get one more resource, which can be spent on one more controlling event, because most of these cost 1. And then I put No Mercy in here because, and this is why I think that this deck is better than the decks that run like Daffy Stick and Flamethrower and more yellow cards, because Jango is actually insane with No Mercy. If you start a turn with No Mercy and 4 other blue cards, and they activate a character, all you need to do is with whatever dice are on Jango, roll 1 black side, and you're hitting them for +4. It's not like it's action cheating a No Mercy. It's insane. So if they're ever low and you have a No Mercy, they're just dead. It's very, very strong. Do I think this deck is as good as Vader Raider? Maybe. I think it has a potential. Like Holocron is just way stronger in this deck than it is in Vader Raider because of how much better Jango is at action cheating those abilities. He can action cheat multiple abilities instead of just one of his dice. And it also has four dice. 4 dice is a big deal. It means that like with Jango here having 2 resources sides, you're going to be able to more reliably play upgrades. Vader Raider decks don't play upgrades. They only get them out through Holocrons normally. They just rely on only playing control. This deck, you can both get upgrades and play control. All that being said, I think that this is a less consistent version of a Vader Raider deck, but it's a cheaper version. You don't have to pay $50 for a Vader. And I think that if you're a better player and you're playing against a Vader Raider, you can beat the Vader Raider because you can so easily control the Vader's die. So yeah, those are 4 decks that if you are thinking, man, I just don't want to play meta decks. Everyone's playing Vader Raider. Everyone's playing Jango Ballad Trooper. Everyone's playing, Rey Qui-Gon if they're playing, or Rey Double Padawan if they're playing Mono Blue. Everyone's doing these Akbar 2 non-unique decks. If you're thinking that and you just don't want to play them, if you're that type of player, here are some decks that I believe deserve more attention. I believe that I think this is actually the next deck that I'll take a look at Tabletop Simulator because I really do like it. I enjoy being able to control so well. I love Guardian. And I love just having the 2 better dice. Like Bala-Tik, running 2 die on Bala-Tik, they're just not that fabulous. But 2 dice on Phasma, Phasma has good dice. They're all black, right? This is pretty decent. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask in the comments below. And feel free to like or subscribe. Look at me, I sound like such a YouTuber. Well, until next time.